The New York State Office of Addiction Services and Support, or OASAS, provides this podcast as a public service. Thoughts and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent or reflect those of the agency or state. This is Addiction, the Next Step.
Hey everybody, it's Jerry Gratzinger, your host of Addiction, the Next Step, the podcast brought to you by the New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports. And again, thanks for checking us out here. We are on both audio and video again as we continue to expand our podcast offerings here, so you can listen or watch whatever you prefer. But one of the things we're going to try to do in today's episode is address the perceptions that sometimes people have when it comes to folks who are living with substance use disorder. You know, a lot of people have this perceived notion as to who those people are, right? I mean, they have this expectation that it'll be a certain kind of person or in a certain area of New York, dealing with certain types of things in their life. And today we're going to sort of upend some of that, I hope, because that sort of thinking can lead to stigma, and it can be difficult to, have that and encourage people then to go out and seek services and treatment. So I'm going to stop talking and let our guest chime in here, because I want to welcome Victoria Treadwell, who is here. She's right now the 2023 Miss New York for America Strong. Thanks for joining us, Victoria.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So it's great to have you here. And, for those of you who are watching, you see she's got her sash on here for us today. And if you're listening, now you're encouraged to check it out, to go online and watch it. But so I want to first let people know the title you've got, when you got it, and tell us that part of the story first.
So I grew up on a dairy farm in the middle of nowhere, and
where's the middle of nowhere?
Little Falls, New York.
All right. Oh, people know where that is. Sure.
Out by Utica.
Yep.
And my parents had to sell out, unfortunately, but once we sold out, I realized that I needed to start doing something more worth my time. And I wanted to be a role model. I saw how kids on Instagram were looking up to these girls who were, not fully clothed and dancing, and people were all looking for that affirmation by likes and comments and shares. Right. And I wanted to be a positive role model. And I was tired of being ashamed from my past. And so I found the outlet of pageantry. And I competed in my first pageant in 2022. And I fell in love with it. I was surrounded by women who all worked hard. They all want to be better versions of themselves. And I was like, I need to be surrounded by these girls. And so I did a pageant, thought I was done. And then I found myself wanting to compete again. And I found the Mrs. America organization. And I was crowned in Rochester last year. I believe it was June 4th.
Okay, coming up on a year.
Yeah, coming up on a year. And I did not believe them when they said that your year is going to fly by and it will change your life.
Right.
And it did.
Right. That's always the way, right?
Absolutely. And the places I've traveled, the people I've met, it's just opened so many doors. Yep. And I'm here to share my story as an overdose survivor.
And that's what I wanted to get into next. So you just talked to us about the pageant journey. And you said you wanted to be a role model, and there's so much more that kind of led to that, right? I mean, you didn't just try the pageant the first time and say, okay, this is what I want to do. It was because you had so much history about a message you wanted to share through that opportunity, and you just kind of told us it led to an overdose. But I want to take you back so that people understand the full story. You said that you grew up on a farm, and if I'm not mistaken, that's sort of where this other part of the story also started.
It's exactly where it started. We had a young teenage boy working on our farm. Him and I were very similar in age, and he kind of had that bad boy appeal that all these young, sweet, innocent girls want, and every father's fear. And I, of course, wanted to play with fire, and I loved that thrill. And I did not know what drugs were. I didn't even know what marijuana was. I just knew that people would smoke it at parties, and I was clueless. I was this young, innocent girl in high school. I was in student council. I did drama club. I did sports. I did everything. And then I let this boy think that us spending time together and bonding was doing drugs. And one day I finally let him inject heroin in my arm in a Walmart parking lot.
Wow.
And I thought that would be the last time.
And how old were you at that point?
I believe I was 18, 19 years old.
Okay.
And I was like, I'll never do it again. And then never do it again turned to like every 2 weeks, just once, and then a couple days a week. And I was a waitress at the time too, and I was spending all my money on him just so he could go get his fix. And I didn't realize how severe his addiction was. And I also didn't know that I was enabling him. So fast forward, June 26, 2016, I overdosed on heroin in the front seat of my car on a back road. Wow. My parents had no idea. That's the other thing. Addicts or people who are experimenting with drugs, they can hide it well. And I was looking for this acceptance, and I thought he was giving me the love that I was looking for. And it wasn't. And I'll never forget when that state trooper looked me in the eyes after I overdosed, and he goes, "Why are you throwing your life away?" And somehow that stuck with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not who I am. And that's when the shame came. And I remember my dad crying, looking at me going, "Where did we go wrong raising you?" Oh. And the truth is, they didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
You know, I was just trying to fit in with the crowd.
And that's, so you just said that. And I was thinking, as you've been telling the story, this is, one of those examples of a young person who, gets in with a crowd and, is looking for acceptance like every teenager does at that age, right? And you find somebody who you connect with, and whether it's peer pressure, what else, by yourself, would you have thought about experimenting with this? Maybe not, but you did because the situation was there and one thing led to another.
Yeah, and they tell you it's safe, it's okay, I do it, and when you're that young, girls want that guy to,
sweep them off their feet, right?
Yeah, you're like, oh, I have to do everything he wants me to do, and it's so not the case.
All right, so that happens, and you hear that from the state trooper. What was the journey like going forward? Because you talked about, you had him inject you the one time, and the one time led to 2 times, and then I won't do it as often, and to the point where you overdosed. So coming out of that, what was the journey like going forward to get yourself to a point where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm in control of this, and now I want to be somebody who can speak about it and inspire and be a role model?
So I had to do 6 months of outpatient rehab at this facility called the Beacon Center.
Okay.
I did it in Herkimer. And there I was taught how to surround myself with people who positively influenced me. And it was hard, but I got rid of a lot of friends.
Really?
I stopped partying. I don't know how I did it. I would party during the week and go to school.
It's not easy. No one says it's easy, right?
And you're just like, wow. But I removed myself from these people who I realized they had no good intentions for me. And I finished school. I became a surgical technologist.
Good for you.
And I found myself when I was surrounded by these surgeons who all have, reached the highest level of education, and they are superior at their fields of work. I was like, I need to be someone like them. And I was positively influenced by these people. And one of the orthopedic surgeons I work with, he became a father figure in my life. And he has been teaching me how to fly airplanes.
Wow.
He helps you do surgery. Like, never did I think I'd be drilling, in someone's knee, know. And I now work for a world-renowned endoscopic spine surgeon as well.
That's great.
And these people they make you want to push your boundaries.
You're being inspired like you're hoping to do to others.
To others. I want people to know that, it's okay to let go of the people who you think are your friends, but you'll find out the people who are your true friends will stick by your side and support you and, encourage you to be the best of yourself.
So, I said a minute ago when you were saying how it was difficult, I said, nobody says it's easy. And it's true because, you start that journey, in treatment, hoping to get to recovery. And it involves work. And I'm sure at the time, you must have thought to yourself, I don't know if I can do this. Is this really worth it? Talk about that piece of it. And then when you came around to say, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth all the effort I'm putting in.
I try to remind myself and stay humble because I now know what rock bottom feels like. I know what it's like to be alone and feel that no one loves me and to feel so ashamed. And like my invasion of privacy was taken away. My parents, you know, I'm 19, 20 years old, and I have to give my phone up at 8 p.m., you know, and I have to tell them where I'm going. And I had people tweet about me. I know Twitter doesn't exist anymore, but I had people tweet.
Some version of it, yeah.
Some version. and, you know, on Facebook, they all talked about me. And it was embarrassing. But then I realized that going to these group meetings in rehab, being surrounded by people who were trying to better themselves, it helped me, you know, be like, it's okay. Like, we're all going through something, and it doesn't matter what you look like. I can tell you in rehab, there was people my age and there was people in their 70s, and they all had different lines of work. And, you know, we all have different backgrounds, and we all have a little bit of different stories, but we're all trying to get to the same goal of being healthy and, you know, bettering ourselves.
Yeah, and that's what we want to encourage. You know, you talked about feeling ashamed, and one of the things that we really hope to encourage people with is that we don't want people to feel ashamed when they're seeking treatment, when they're looking to start that road to recovery. We want to cheer them on and root them on, because it's a long journey. It's a tough road. But, you know, our tagline is every step of the way. That's our slogan, because we want to be there for people every step of the way. And I want to thank you, Victoria, for being here for this step along the way, because what you're saying, what you've lived through, what you've experienced, hopefully people will hear that and say, you know what? She's right. I'm gonna do this too, and I'm gonna make a phone call, and I'm gonna start that journey.
Start it. My plan originally when I met with a counselor was 3 months, but I had to do 6 months, and it's okay. And then once you graduate from rehab, you kind of start finding yourself, and you have to put the inner work in. I'm still putting the work in, 7 years later now, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to heal, but I'm also here to help. And know that it's so worth it.
Yeah, a recovery, not a destination, right? It's a continuing journey.
Exactly.
So I want to get back to what's next for you. I know we were talking. You've got until June, right? So what's the future hold for Victoria?
So the future holds graduating from the University of Albany. With my bachelor's in sociology. My goal actually is to either go to physician assistant school or anesthesia assistant school. I haven't decided yet, but I work in healthcare now, and I want to continue that. And I want patients to feel like people. And I feel like that's so important. And then I am handing up my crown June 2nd, and then I'm competing for a different Miss New York title at the end of June.
Great.
You know, it's not about the title that you get. One girl's going to get that title at the end of the day. It's the work that you put in, knowing that you put that in, and meeting new friends. And I can't wait to see all the women that I haven't seen in years, but we all, you know, kind of hype each other up over the years on social media. Yeah. And I also just love getting glammed.
And I got to tell you, if you are listening and not watching, you're missing the sparkle in her eye when she's talking about this process. And I think it's so great. Again, you shared the story of where you were, what you went through to get back to where you are right now. And I think it's an encouragement for everybody. You know, you can be in a similar position. I mean, you're graduating from Albany. You're going to be, you know, competing yet again and looking forward to that. So that's great. That is a tremendous message. And again, we're so thankful that you were here to share it with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Keep us posted on how things go with the next competition. All right.
Will do.
All right, and good luck. Victoria Treadwell, everybody, joining us here on Addiction: The Next Step. I want to let you know, too, if you are looking for treatment, or you're looking for a facility that can help, or any type of services at all, or have questions, you can obviously go to our website, oasas.ny.gov, oasas.ny.gov. You can also find us on social media. Just look for OASAS, and we will be there. And we will be here for the next episode, which we certainly hope you will check out. I'm Jerry Gretzinger. We'll talk to you soon.